on our YouTube channel, or just go to our website, which is newsradio1029.com, and then click on the, hover over the on-demand tab, and you'll see the little Karn TV, and you can see my ugly mug right there on your computer screen or on your phone, or however you choose to watch me. So we, like I said, of course, do have a lot to talk about. There's been some pretty interesting news stories. In addition to the debate, of course, the debate last night, just an absolute disaster for Joe Biden. And I guess I have to admit, I was wrong. I really thought that this format would be a negative for Donald Trump. I thought this format would be something that highlights Donald Trump's impatience or his unwillingness to be a rule follower, if you will. And I was wrong. This debate moderation or format or whatever you want to call it probably needs to be the way Donald Trump does debates moving forward. He looked as if he was in control. He avoided any sort of foot in mouth moments. He didn't say anything stupid or shocking or just downright loony. I mean, he really. I was really quite impressed with the way Donald Trump handled this debate. He, when the time came that his time to quit speaking was up, he stopped. He didn't continue on. I would have loved, and this isn't an original idea to me. I was listening to a radio show yesterday, and the host was talking about. He said, I would love to see, when the time is up, instead of Donald Trump just shouting across the stage, I would love to see Donald Trump just walk across the stage and grab Joe Biden's mic and start talking into his mic instead, which I thought it would have been hilariously funny and would have been great to witness. Clearly that didn't happen, and it would have been wildly unprofessional, but it would have been comedy gold, to be honest. But all of that said, Donald Trump, I think, deserves an incredible amount of credit, regardless of whether you think he lied about everything, regardless of what you think about him personally, what you believe about his politics, whether you're right, left, or center, doesn't really matter. Donald Trump did a very, very good job of acting. We hear this a lot, right? People, I wish Donald Trump would be more presidential. I wish he would act in a more presidential way. I wish he would do that, And last night we saw that. We saw Donald Trump measured and calm and collected, and we saw Donald Trump that was, professional, respectful, and presidential. I think Donald Trump did a really, really good job last night. And I think the format may have lended itself to that type of behavior out of Donald Trump. And so kudos to Donald Trump. I've been very hard on him in the past. I've been very hard on some of the policy decisions that he's made and some of the positions that he's taken and the way he's conducted himself. But last night at the debate, Donald Trump deserves every bit of credit and praise that he's gotten for the way he handled himself last night. It was an absolute masterful performance on the debate stage from someone who has not always shined as brightly as they could have. So, yeah, kudos to Donald Trump. Now, on the opposite side of the stage, the utter disaster that was Joe Biden on the opposite side of the stage, boy, it was ugly. I mean, he talked about, girls being raped by their sisters. He talked about thousands of trillionaires in America. Now, to his credit, he did catch that one and reversed himself. He says they finally beat Medicare, which honestly, that moment when he finished the sentence, he's fine. He got all flustered and he couldn't talk and couldn't get his sentence out. And he finished with saying, well, look. We finally beat Medicare. And Donald Trump's response, the second they turned Donald Trump's microphone on, Donald Trump's response was something along the line, well, yeah, he did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and I'm going to fix it, is essentially what Donald Trump, that moment, that was probably one of the best moments of the night. And Donald Trump's response was classic. I don't know what he said just then. He doesn't seem to know what he just said, but he did beat Medicare to death. Like, I mean, it was really good. It was a good dig. It was a great gotcha without being over the top and obnoxious like President Trump sometimes has a tendency to do. He absolutely knocked that one out of the park. Joe Biden teed it up. And and Trump absolutely crushed it. I mean, it was not just over the wall; it was out of the stadium and into the harbor. He I mean, just absolutely hammered that one home. So yeah, kudos to Trump and Joe Biden. Gosh, it was an absolute bloodbath for him last night. One thing I will say, though, there's been a lot of talk, and I mean, even Joe Scarborough, the guy, is it Cy, I think is his name, from Young Turks. I can't think of his name, but several, and I think Bongino even referenced the Young Turks guy. So many of these Democrat talking heads now calling for Joe Biden to step down. And honestly, I think that's all theater. I don't see any legitimate path for Joe Biden being replaced on the ballot. In Wisconsin, it's too late. He cannot be replaced on the ballot in Wisconsin unless he dies. Like, that's literally the only way Joe Biden gets pulled off the ballot in Wisconsin is if he dies. There's a couple other states, I don't remember them all off the top of my head, but there's one where the last Friday of the month of June is the deadline. So, I mean, literally today is the deadline to pull him off the ballot in a couple of different states. I think one of them was Ohio, maybe Connecticut. I can't remember. Like I said, there was so many that I've seen through. And there's a lot of people we got to pull Joe Biden and he's done and this is over and he's going to lose and all that kind of stuff. There is not, in my opinion, now I might be wrong, but in my opinion, there is not really a legitimate path for the Democrat Party to be able to pull Joe Biden off the ballot and still mount a legitimate campaign with a different candidate. Like that it's not realistic. So I genuinely believe that unless Joe Biden dies, I don't see there being another path to bringing in Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan or Gavin Newsom from California. I mean, legally, I do not see a legitimate path for the Democrat Party to be able to skirt this and actually get him off the ballot. So I think what they've got to hope for at best is pushing Kamala as a potential replacement in Joe getting elected and then immediately stepping down from office and Kamala taking over. I think that's really the only legitimate path that the Democrat Party has is either getting Joe to whatever reason, however he can do it, get Kamala to step aside and pick a new vice president, and then, like say, win the election based on the fact that, hey, as soon as I'm elected, I will step down, my first day in my second term, I'll resign and my replacement will be, whoever, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, whoever it is. That's, I think, the only path they've got. But we'll get into all of that today. One texter says this, where did it go? He said, and he called him Brandon in a very classy one. Really? How did I miss that? He called him Brandon? I didn't watch the entirety of the debate last night, but I watched clip after clip after clip, and I can't believe nobody that I watched mentioned that he called them Brandon. When did he call him Brandon? Anyway, well, I'm up against break. We'll have to come back to that because I'll have to check that out because I did not catch that if he did. So anyway, we'll continue with the Schmidt Show next on News Radio 102.9 KRN.